there was a Muslim scientist, astrophysicist. His name is Kalam. There's like a series of principles that were developed with Kalam kind of taking notoriety for it. Kalam's cosmological principle, talking about like, has the universe always existed? Like Carl Sagan was like, the universe is all there ever was or all there ever will be. And I don't know if he was making a pronouncement about like whether or not there was a beginning to time or anything like that, but he was just saying that like the universe has this almost like Eastern type of principle, like the Hindu idea or Buddhist idea, just like it just has always been, you know? Mm-hmm. But Kalam came up with this idea and it's, I'm simplifying it. So just whatever, but he's basically saying if the universe has existed forever, right? Mm-hmm. And we're at a point in time now, but the universe has existed forever up until now, then we never should have arrived at now. Mm. So it's impossible to be in the present if the universe has always existed. So the universe had to have had a start to it. Otherwise, we never would have arrived at this point in time because an eternity would not have gone by because it never ends. Isn't that wild?
Because there's no such thing as an eternity going by.
Right.
Because it just goes on.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and some people think of that like as wordsmithing in a way. But I mean, in essence, it's true that there's no way an eternity could have gone by and then now we arrived at the present. Mm. So I would say, and this is obviously there's more science behind it, but that's one way to start at it is to say that like it had to have had a start in order for us to have a now.
Yeah. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Has a beginning. And so what?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I was going to add on to that, like the simplest way that I think, because that also is a really compelling argument for me as to why I believe that the universe did begin. And actually, it's part of the reason I believe that it was created. It didn't just begin, but it was created by someone and by something. Mm-hmm. You have like the Big Bang is like a pretty well-established thought that this is how the universe began. And if there was a Big Bang or something like that, then the universe began in an instant. And everything that begins to exist had a cause. Like in order for that effect to take place, you need a cause. Mm-hmm. But the universe is time and it's space and it's material. That's like what makes up the universe that we understand. Whatever created it must not have been space, time, or material. So you need a spaceless, timeless, immaterial cause that leads to this effect, which is our universe. Mm-hmm. I see that as God.
Yeah. You know, there's a really cool story behind the Big Bang.
There's a story behind the Big Bang?
There is.
That sounds like impossible, but okay.
No, it's a it's an interesting story. There's a guy named Georges Lemaître, or George Lemaître. So George,
it was cooler the first way you said
George Lemaître. I'm just going to say that because otherwise it just sounds like you're trying to be fancy or something. You're like, we're going to have some cannolis, you know. But George Lemaître, he was a priest, and he back in the 1920s, he came up with this idea that maybe everything was compressed into the size of like an atom, and everything exploded out of that, which really isn't exploded, it's just expanding, right? And this was at a time when either you fell into the camp, like I believe that God just created everything, he spoke and everything came into existence, or you believed that the universe has always just been there. And so people weren't really sure. I think most people would just line up with the fact that God spoke it into existence, whatever. So Lemaître came up with this theory that everything was compressed into, he was a Belgian priest. For some reason, in the back of my head, I think he like grew up in Jersey.
You got a picture of him?
Ooh, there he is.
He looks like the scientist from Captain America, the evil one.
Oh,
the little guy.
Gosh. Yeah, he does kind of.
Can we look up the Captain America scientist, please?
No, not side by side.
Tyler says no. Okay.
Side by side. Kind of scary. So he came up with this idea, and everybody just kind of like didn't really pay attention to it. It was published in a journal that wasn't really well received, and so he was just this insignificant person. Because you had Einstein. Einstein was a big deal at the time, and Einstein actually looked at it in the time, like in the 20s and 30s, and he looked at it and he was like, "Oh, your math computations check out, but your physics is abominable," and so he wrote it off, right? But what was interesting is Edwin Hubble in the 30s, late 20s, in the early 30s. He actually discovered something, you know, we call like redshift, where things are actually moving apart. It seems like we are moving apart from a central area. Something we're expanding, giving some sort of credence to Lemaître's idea.
Because where are they expanding? Well, if they're expanding out, that means they came from somewhere.
Somewhere, right? So this is where the story gets really interesting. So this is why there's a story behind Big Bang. So there was another scientist named Fred Hoyle who hated this idea of a big bang, and he made fun of it. He's like, "Oh, so there is some big bang," you know. I don't even know, but it sounds better.
Yeah, that's certainly the accent.
He sounds better as a
So
evil
Lemaître
French
is
person.
not French, but this guy's French.
Yeah, exactly. Lemaître's from New Jersey. Yeah. No. Lemaître's Belgian. Fred Hoyle is not French. But 1949, he nicknamed it the Big Bang and made fun of it and thought, like whatever. And that's really where we get the name from, is from this guy who kept referring to it as the Big Bang, making fun of it as the Big Bang. And here's the thing. Einstein even admitted this. Hoyle, Einstein, the rest of them did not like the idea of the Big Bang because it hinted at a point in the past where everything expanded and that there had to be a creation moment.
Right.
And so Hoyle pressed real hard for a steady state theory, which was that the universe is all there ever was or all there ever will be, and that it is just like a firm, I don't know how to say it, it just always existed and always will exist. And the problem with the math on that was inherent in Einstein. When he looked at some of his calculations, he invented he fudged some of the numbers in order to create this constant in the universe that would account for some of the math that's missing. And Penzias and Wilson, two researchers with Bell Labs in the 50s, they were trying to get their antenna, like their radio antennas, to work well, and they kept picking up fuzz. And they thought, they cleaned out the dish. I think it was actually like looked like a large ear horn almost. And they kicked birds out of there. They thought they're having all this interference, but they kept picking up this like fuzz, this interference. And then they started doing tests on it. They actually were picking up the background radiation of creation. And so they won a Nobel Prize for that. So they actually proved the Big Bang, that there was a point in time where everything we call exploded, but really just expanded into the known universe we have today. Einstein looked at it, checked it all out, went back to Lemaître and apologized.
Oh, wow.
And said, actually, this is a beautiful theory explaining the creation of the world. Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history beyond it. It was only about 100 years ago where a Belgian priest said, no, there had to be a point in time. So to answer your question, yeah, we've actually proved there is a creation moment. There was a point in time where everything came out of nothing.
Wow.